Well, greetings again to all you eager listeners of Hari Kathamrita, the ambrosial exploits of Hari, as recounted in the 10th skanda, or the 10th canto of the Srimad. So we're proceeding further now with chapter 37, and very soon the whole atmosphere is going to change, and it will be in a new kind of relish of the Katha. So before I can proceed with that, I'll say Mangala Charana Vandeham Sri Guru Sri Yutapada Kamalam Sri Gurun Vaishnavangscha Sri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Sri Radha Krishna Pada Sahagana Lalita Sri Vishakhanvitamscha Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Deving Saraswati Vyasam Tato Jayamudiraye Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So the argument. And now, my patient, gentle reader, hear those themes that in the next chapter appear. Keshi's destruction, Narad's augury, vile Vyoma's death, his companions set free. And so the text begins. Meantime, to Braja, Keshi held his course on Kamsa's hest as a colossal horse. With speed of mind, he came in full career and tore the earth and did his mane uprear, which scattered the clouds that round him hung, and off their course the gods' wars and terrors amplified, and all were struck with fear and petrified, observing his cowherd companion's plight, and how his horrid neighing caused such fright, and how Keshi approached him to assail, and how the clouds he scattered with his tail. He then called out his challenge to defy, and Keshi roared like a lion in reply. When Keshi heard that challenge to engage, he rushed with gaping mouth, consumed with rage, as if to swallow up the sky. He tried with his 4 legs to strike the lotus eye. But the inscrutable Lord dodged his kick and seized him with his arm, dexterous and quick, and playfully around and around he whirled, and to 100 bow-length distance hurled. E'en as the son of Parksha, that's Garuda, casts away a snake, the Lord stood ready for the fray. Reviving consciousness, he rose again, gaping. Keshi at Hari charged amain. But with a smile, with his left hand, he smote and thrust his arm down into Keshi's throat, e'en as a serpent doth slither and roll, and enters into a convenient hole. Merely the touch of the Supreme Lord's arm knocked out his teeth, which felt like hot iron. His arm within caused Keshi's guts to burst, in as a distempered stomach unnursed. Thus Krishna's arm the swelling did augment, asphyxiated by blocking the vent, with spasms, sweat, and eyes rolling round, he voided ordure, then fell to the ground. The strong arm the strong arm from Keshi his arm withdrew, which seemed a ripened burst melon to view. Without the least of pride, his aim fulfilled, and thus with ease the demon having killed. He then received the worship of the gods, who poured down flowers from their bright abodes. And now, O king, Narada of high fame, the foremost devotee, to Krishna came, who acts wonderful deeds unceasingly, to consult in a private colloquy. Krishna, Krishna, immeasurable soul, the Lord of Yoga, ruler of the whole, Lord Vasudeva, in whom all abide, thou master of sattvatas and their pride. Thou art the self in all creatures enshrined, the secret spark of fire in wood confined. Concealed, thou art lodged in the heart's recess, as the indwelling spirit and witness, thou great being called Mahapurusha. Thou art the supreme ruler, Ishwara. Thou art resort of souls and antedate. Thy power doth the gunas three create, whence springs up all this, and thine every wish thou spontaneously dost accomplish. From thee each creature and nature evolves under thy sway, and into thee dissolves. Thou art that he who, verily I say, hast made descent to punish and to slay the Daitya host and the Pramata brood, and to afford protection to the good. This demon, who did the horse form assume, hast been slain by thee to our great fortune, who had brought terror when he raged and roared. The unblinking ones fled heaven and deplored. That's the gods, because they don't blink. Animish. On the day after tomorrow, you will strong Chanura and vile Mustika kill, and all the wrestlers and the elephant and Kamsa shall to death's abode be sent. Thereafter the conch demon you will slay, and shall the Yavana invaders stay. Mura and Naraka shall meet their end, and you shall to Indra's heaven ascend. And Indra's presumption you will defy, and take the Parijata from the sky. And fair maidens you shall win after fight, by paying the price of heroic might. Salvation to Mriga you shall afford, and dwell in Dwarka as the world's great lord. The Shamantaka gem shall passions rouse, and you shall gain another lovely spouse. On the Brahmin's dead sons shall life bestow, for which purpose to your own realm will go. The slaying of Paundraka I shall see, and burning down of fair Kashi city. You shall the wicked Dantavakra smite, and Chedi's prince during the holy rite. That's Shishupal. As all these and many exploits unfold, while in Dwarka you dwell, I shall behold, which poets shall always on earth rehearse, in lofty speech and fine poetic verse. Thereafter I shall also see you there as Time and Arjuna's charioteer, extirpating the mighty hosts of men to lighten of the worlds its great burden. May we approach your grace as refugees, Supreme Lord of infinite potencies, the one Lord whose being doth constitute the pure essence of wisdom absolute. Your purpose you unimpeded fulfill, according to your independent will, always uncircumscribed and unconfined. You, the flow of the gunas, cannot bind. You are the ruler and your own support, you who manifest this various world in sport, who now in human warfare would fain play, and with these heroes enter on the fray. I bow to you in salutation, Lord, by Yadus, Vrishnis, Satwatas adored. Sri Shuka said, thus, having Yadu's Lord Krishna addressed, the Muni of devoted saints the best, bowed down and then to take his leave did pray, exulting at his sight, and went his way. Thus Govinda, having dread Keshi slain, resumed his task of tending cows again, and bringing joy to the herds, and his friends delighted with them back to Braja went. One day, tending the cattle as they strayed, the young cowherds upon the hillside played. Some played at guarding herds, while others steal, and playing as thieves their plunder conceal. Some act the role of guards, the herds to keep, and others as rustlers to steal the sheep. And as they play, not fearing any harm, sans the least apprehension or alarm. Then Maya's son, Vyoma, the wizard, came, disguised as a cowherd in form and frame, feigning he was a thief, those boys conducts, who played at sheep, and thus each boy abducts. Little by little, many boys he drave, and cast them down into a mountain cave, then heaved a mighty slab across the door, till of boys was left only 5 or 4. Now Krishna, who gives shelter to the good, the doings of the demon understood, and as the lion takes the wolf as prey, he seized him while he took more boys away. The demon resumed his colossal might, dilated his form to a mountain's height, but unable himself to extricate from his firm grip, his power did abate. Lord Achyuta held him in his arms, bound, and squeezing hard, he threw him to the ground. Then, even as the gods were looking on, he, like a votive beast, to death was done. Then, breaking down the slab, blocking the door, he led the cowherds out and did restore. Praised by his friends, saluted from the skies, by gods to his own cowherd village hies. Thus ends chapter 37. Now, chapter 38, the argument. So if you remember before, Akrura was commissioned to go to Braja. Akrura is Gandhini's son. That's his mother's name. So the argument. Gandhini's son at break of day to Sri Vrindavan takes his way. His mind exalted as he thought, while on his car the way he sought. Proceeding on the road, he found those unique footprints on the ground. With ecstasy and love endeared, the dust upon his person smeared. He then arrives at close of day, beholds the brothers twain at play. Krishna received him and expressed warm welcome to his worthy guest. Thus Sukha does at length relate the themes of chapter 38. Sri Shuka said, in Madhupuri, having spent that night, wise Akrura rose with the morning light, and mounting on his chariot, he went at dawn to Nanda's cowherd settlement. That fortunate one, as the road he hied, felt excess of love for the lotus eye, and while he joyed in that ecstatic state, within himself began to deliberate. What deeds of altruism have I done? And what severe penances undergone? What worship, what largesse of charity, that I today Lord Keshava shall see. I think it is a thing rarely attained, for one to have a sight of the Lord gained, who is praised in choice verse. Consequently, he is not seen by worldlings such as me. E'en as a lowly peasant lacks the worth to recite hymns by stigma of his birth. But nay, think not so. Although I be base, today I shall behold a tutor's face. The soul, though to the stream of time consigned, sometime the way to get across may find. Today my evils are absolved and gone. The fruit of my existence I have won, since I this day shall bow and lay prostrate at lotus feet, which yogis contemplate. Kamsa, though unaware, has favored me, since I shall see those feet of Sri Hari, those lotus feet which, with radiant toenails, over the gloom of ignorance prevails, which light many in the past having gained, have crossed the darkness and freedom attained. Brahma and Bhava and the gods entreat, and goddess Shri adores those lotus feet. The sages and his votaries adore those lotus feet, his favor to implore. Upon those tender lotus feet divine, he treads the forest while tending the kine. Those feet shine with the red powder conferred from the breasts of the cowherd damsels transferred. Surely Mukunda's face I shall espy, since gentle deer upon my right pass by, with glossy cheeks and glowing countenance, prominent nose, and a warm, smiling glance, and eyes like soft lotus petals divine, which with the glow of dawn radiant shine, whose frontal locks hang loose about his face, enhancing his rare beauty and his grace. Ah me, today I shall see with my eyes the Supreme Lord Vishnu in human guise, the reservoir and store of loveliness, who to remove the burden and distress of earth is now incarnate, and this day there is none whom my fortune can gainsay, for I shall have received the rarest prize and blessing to behold him with these eyes. He is not the witness void of ego sense. He who is the witness void of ego sense, whence products of cause and effect commence, whose innate power and inherent might the gloom of difference illumines bright, whose power instrumental generates, and in reception of his glance creates. Breath, senses, and intellect are supplied, wherein he is indirectly implied. By glory of whose deeds in speech rehearsed, the sins of all are absolved and dispersed, which of his births and attributes declare, sanctifies, and affords supreme welfare, whereas speech which to him does not relate were like a lifeless corpse to decorate. He is that very God by gods revealed, who has in the Sattva clan appeared to uphold his own codes of righteousness, affording to the great gods happiness, which gods his deeds eloquently proclaim and spread the glory of his holy fame, granting to all endless auspiciousness, final beatitude and blessedness. That ruling Lord who everywhere presides, now in the cowherd settlement abides. For certain, this day I shall see the Lord, the preceptor of great ones and adored, whose beauty thus exhibited inspires the lovely goddess she with soft desires. Of all my dawning days, this day I gain the ultimate fulfillment of life's aim. And then I shall my chariot descend, and straightway at their lotus feet shall bend, and shall prostrate myself before the pair of primal beings who one nature share, who this vasty existence generate, whose lotus feet the yogis contemplate, and I shall render homage to their train, to all their friends, each herdsman and each swain. Then, while at his feet I lay prostrated, the Lord shall place his hand upon my head. Indeed, that lotus hand on me will place, which fear of the time spirit doth efface. Whoso his refuge seeks from that despair, the touch of his hand assuages the fear. Indeed, by charity made to that hand, Kosik and Bali gained heaven's command. Ah me, that hand which bears a fragrant scent, with Sogandika flower perfume blent, when sporting with the cowherd dames, inspired with love when they were weary and perspired. With the same hand he stroked their faces bright, removing their fatigue, giving delight. Lord Achyuta will not consider me, though sent by Kamsa, as his enemy, since he, the universal witness, sees within, without, and all activities. All to his taintless vision is revealed, for he indeed is knower of the field. With palm to palm applied, and bowing low, at those soft feet he will on me bestow a smiling glance, beaming with affection, which shall at once dispel my dejection, and through the ecstasy thereby achieved, I shall of all misgivings be relieved. Taking me for a dear kinsman restored, he who is my chosen and cherished Lord will fold me in his mighty arms, and I the very bonds of action will untie. Embraced thus by that Lord of high renown, with palms together pressed, still bowing down, he shall address me in sweet tones and clear, and say, "Oh, Akrura, my uncle dear." We shall the choicest fruit of life then win. But who is not so honoured, fie on him. To him favoured or beloved there are none, nor does he hate, despise, or shun. Yet he responds to his own devotee, as those who resort to the wishing tree. His elder, while with bowing head I stand, will take my folded palms within his hand with smiles. That Yadu chief will lead the way and take me to their home and honour pay, and making the guest gift, as rule decrees, of his kinsmen will make inquiries as to how their livelihoods they maintain, as subjects of the wicked Kamsa's reign. Sri Shuka said, "The blessed son of Swapalka, dear king, upon Krishna deeply contemplating, on his car travelled along the road, at last arrived the cowherd's abode, just as Surya was going to his rest, setting behind the mountains of the west. There's the time, so. And as towards the cowherd land he drew, he did those unique, sacred footprints view, the dust whereof, conveying pure renown, each world guardian bears upon his crown. He saw those footprints here and there, adorned with signs of lotus gold and barley corn, the blessed earth, lending it sanctity and enhancing her natural beauty. Exulting was he at that sight to see, and was perturbed by loving ecstasy, thrilled with abundant joy at the sight there. His eyes brimmed over with tears, and his hair bristled all over from intense delight. Then quickly from his car he did alight, and rode in the dust, uninhibited, besmearing all his body and his head, and cried aloud in love exuberantly, "This is the dust from my Lord's feet. Ah me!" This, verily, for embodied souls is the goal of life and source of supreme bliss, to put up all misapprehension aside, doing away with fear, sorrow, and pride. Though he but ensued the command and hest of Kamsa, he was fortunately blessed, absorbing his thoughts, his vision and mind in things that may one of Hari remind. Thereupon he beheld the princely pair, while to the milking parlour they repair, Krishna and Rama, clad in raiment fine, one of them dark, the other fair did shine. That one wore the raiment of yellow hue, the other was clad in robes of dark blue. Their eyes, autumnal lotuses, their eyes as autumnal lotus appeared. Thus shone the handsome adolescent pair, their mighty arms extending to the knee, their ample bosoms resting place of Shri. Their most handsome countenances display, and as a pair of young elephants play. The flag, the boat, the gold, the lotus shine upon their footsoles, and render sublime the glory of the earth. Their glances show sweet tender smiles, and compassion bestow. He saw them who in lustrous deeds delight, with fragrant flower garlands dight, their limbs with odorous substances smeared, freshly bathed and ornamented appeared. The source of nature and being adored, the cause of the world, and the world's great Lord, who had descended now for the world's sake, and with their parts did incarnation take, as Bala and Keshava, O dear King, whose refulgence away doth darkness fling. One of them seemed a mount of silver bright, with finely polished gold ornaments dight, the other like a mount of emerald, also adorned with shiny burnished gold. In haste, Akura from his car did alight, and prompted by affection and delight, fell like a rod, and his prostration made. At Rama and Krishna's feet his head he laid. Such joy at the sight of the Lord bestowed, raptured, and the tears of ecstasy flowed. Thrilled with horripilation and trembling, he could not introduce himself, O King. The Lord well recognized him, and with zeal, with hands that bear the mark of the cartwheel, he held him in a fond, tender embrace, to those who bow, ready to show his grace. To Sankarshan also, in homage bent, who taking hold his hand with his hand went, and with his younger brother brought him home, then honoured him with a worthy welcome. As Holy Writ ordains, they washed his feet, and offered him a luxuriant seat, inquired if he had a pleasant trip, and gave him honey mixed with milk to sip. The mighty Lord honoured his worthy guest by gift of cow, and to afford him rest, massaged his legs and feet with filial care, and fed him with the best of dainty fare. When he to satisfaction was well fed, Rama, with codes of virtue acquainted, spices and flower garlands then supplied, and he again was fully satisfied. Then Nanda, having honoured him, said, "How are you and all your people doing now? How under Kamsa's misrule do you keep secure, as a butcher might care for sheep? That cruel Kamsa slew for self-interest his sister's babes, e'en as she wailed distress. What then will he to his subjects not do? What then may we deem of the state of you?" Thus having heard Nanda's genial speech, heard with high honour upon him had conferred, the wise Akrura thus kindly received, of all his weariness he was relieved. End of chapter 38, now chapter 39. Sri Sukha said, Akrura,
Madhav, could you just tilt your camera so that we can see the top of your head a bit more? Sorry.
oh, sorry. Is
No,
that
no, a
better?
bit more, bit more.
It's come too close. You should go back. Oh, no, it's even closer. Oh,
It's
that's
a...
better.
Anyway, thank you. Hurry.
Sri Shuka said, Akrura, reverenced, seated at ease on a soft couch, received the courtesies of Rama and Krishna with honour due, his musings on the road having come true. What is there, O king, that cannot be gained for one who has his high pleasure attained? Of him, the resort of Shri and her lord, yet still they never seek any reward. The son of Devaki, the Lord Most High, their evening meal sped, made inquiry regarding the well-being of his friends, their deeds, and also Kamsa's means and ends. The blessed Lord said, Thou art most welcome, gentle uncle dear. I trust you had a pleasant journey here. Are all thy kith and kinsmen faring well, in good health and unhindered? Pray thee tell. But what is the good of inquiries? With Kamsa there, the family's disease, regarding thy welfare and well-being and of our friends, and that wretch, with that wretch prospering, alas, mark how my parents have endured woe and have been to confinement inured, and I the cause of all their children slain. I have only brought to them grief and pain. O good uncle, our sight is blessed today, since thou, O gentle one, hast come this way. Now deign to tell wherefore thou hast come here, the reasons for thy long journey declare. Sri Shuka said, thus questioned by the Supreme Lord Divine, that noble scion of the Madhu line told how the tyrant did with Yadus strive, and Vasudev of life sought to deprive. The substance of his message thus conveyed, he then revealed the plots Kamsa had laid. How Narada did vile Kamsa inform, and he was of Anakadundu born. In other words, Narada told Kamsa that Krishna was actually Vasudeva's son. When having heard Akrura's speech, they rose, those mighty conquerors of hostile foes, Krishna and Bala, laughing in disdain, to Nanda the king's orders did proclaim. Then Nanda issued his decree to bring their milk products as tribute to the king. Let the finest gifts of price be bestowed, in readiness your wagons yoke and load, for on the morrow we will take our journey to the vast capital Madhupuri. There with salutation and compliment our milk products will to the king present, and there we shall a grand tournament see, with gathered people from the town and lea. Then Nanda had this officer convey his orders, which the latter did relay. Now, when this news the cowherd damsels heard, they were with sore distress and anguish stirred, that a Krura had come there to convey from Vraja to the city far away dear Rama and Krishna, the brothers twain, assailed them with immeasurable pain. Some, hearing the tidings, their hearts were rent, and some grew pale at the burning torment, and others breathed long sighs of dire distress, and loosened were their bangles, braids, and dress. Others withdrew their consciousness within, abstracted with contemplation of him, even as those who the self contemplate and go to the soul's eternal estate. Others recall how Lord Holy would smile with amorous glances, which did beguile their hearts, and the speeches he would convey with eloquence caused them to swoon away. And while in their distress they plain and weep, their thoughts in the Lord Achyuta's steep, his sweet conduct, the manner of his gait, his fond glances, which woe would dissipate, his merry jokes, his deeds of high renown, they were thus into apprehension thrown, that Mukunda indeed away would go, assailed them with dread fear and bitter woe, and gathering in groups began to sing, their cheeks bedewed with tears from much weeping. The cowherd damsel said, "O stern Providence, you are pitiless, who cause beings to join in happiness before their desire they consummate. You supervene, and lovers separate, and love before it grow to full destroy, like a wanton and capricious, spiteful boy. This conduct is not well that you pursue, since having first manifest to our view Mukunda's face, which to us you disclose, with comely cheeks and fine prominent nose, with straying locks of hair and tender smiles, which banishes distress and woe beguiles. It is a rash presumption on your part to drive in this way fond lovers apart. O Providence, you come in friendly guise as Akrur, but really in you lies capricious folly, cruelty, and spite, for having first afforded us the sight, yet now you cunningly scheme and contrive, and fain would of this vision us deprive. Since moulding of his form you did fulfill the ultimate perfection of your skill, in the figure and the excellence of grace, and the beauty of Madhudvisha's face. O Nanda's son, who breaks loving affairs, even to look upon us little cares. Our homes and relatives, for his dear sake, and husbands and children, we did forsake, enamored of his love, yet certainly he always seeks in love for novelty. Oh, what a blessed good morning 'twill be for those ladies who dwell in the city, for certainly they shall reap the reward to look upon the face of Braja's Lord, and drink with their side glances to the full, the nectar of his face, most beautiful. Alas, weak dames, hearken to what I tell. When Mukunda, under the witching spell of sweet talk of the high-born ladies there, how will he to us rustic girls repair? For though he is righteous and innocent, he will succumb to love's bewilderment. Verily, tomorrow the dynasties, Dasarhas, Bhojas, Andakas, Vishnus, the Satrapas, will all enjoy the sight, filling their eyes with a festive delight. For he, the lover of fair beauty's queen, proceeding along the road will be seen, of loveliness the reservoir and store, whom fortunate Devaki Devi bore. And how could he, who bears that name indeed, Akrura, undertake this ruthless deed, who has no word of consolation, no, but with our dear beloved away would go. Callous Krishna now mounts the car to part. In haste the herdsmen yoke the wheel and cart. The elders are indifferent, and thus it seemeth fate is working against us. Let us approach and stand before the car, and thereby Madhava's departure bar. So what if elders and relatives chide? We cannot even an eye's twinkling abide, parted from dear Mukunda's company, or bear the pain of adverse destiny. When he, with ardent love and tender grace, sweet speech, with playful glance and firm embrace, foregathered on those nights to dance the ras, full many nights as a moment did pass. How shall we endure the protracted time of his desertion, but to mourn and pine? Who at day's end to Braja would repair, with dust upon his garland and his hair, the dust upraised by hooves of kine upraised, and by his friends, Ananta's friend, was praised. And as he played the flute and fondly smiled, our minds were captivated and beguiled. How can we endure separation? How can we sustain our lives in sorrow now? Sri Sukha said, thus did these fond damsels their woe express, by Krishna's departure plunged in distress, and called unheedful, loud and plaintively, Govinda Damodara Madhaveti. But as those dames lament with sobs and cries, the radiant Savitri did arise, and having his morning devotions sped, Akrura the chariot forward led. Nanda, with all the herdsmen and the swains, followed along behind upon their wains, bringing their milk products for offering in large clay pots as tribute to the king. The cowherd dames followed Krishna some way. He reassuring glances did convey, and hoping to learn something of his will, they stood at that spot motionless and still. As he departed and beheld their plight, he did a comforting message indite, conveyed to them to ease their hurt and pain, which said with love, I shall return again. So long as they could see the flag afar, and the dust upraised by the speeding car, they stood dumbfounded in their deep distress, like figures in a portrait motionless. They then turned back, dejected and forlorn, despairing Govinda would e'er return. In lamentation spent their nights and days, rehearsing in song their beloved's praise. Now, again, Bhagavan Api. Thus even the Almighty hied away with Akrura and Rama by his side. Away hied with Akrura and Rama by his side, on that car which, swift as the wind, them bore to bite in effacing shore. The sweet and glistening water by the bank he took a little in his hand and drank. Then had the car placed under shady trees, and mounting up with Rama sat at ease. Akrura, taking his leave from them, goes, while they upon the car take their repose. As rule ordains, he does the water sip, then bathes him by taking a holy dip. Immersing himself in the water there, he muttered the supreme eternal prayer. And while submerged Akrura did remain, he there beheld Rama and Krishna twain. The sons of Anakabinda stay seated upon the car. Then how could they be standing here? In such was his surprise. In haste he from the water did arise, and then beheld, while standing on the shore, the brothers seated as they were before, and thought, was that vision, delusion, vain? He thereupon entered the pool again. Again submerging himself in that place, he now saw the king of the serpent race, by heavenly bards, minstrels, and demons praised, and with 1,000 serpent necks upraised, 1,000 hoods, 1,000 helmets bore, and flattering raiment of blue he wore. White as the lotus filament he showed, white as the snows of Mount Kailash he glowed. There, on the serpent's coils, he saw recline the blue-complexioned Supreme Lord Divine, clad in yellow raiment, with all the charms displayed by his 4 strong and mighty arms. He, tranquil and serene, recumbent lies, with shining dawn-red tinted lotus eyes, a beautiful, propitious countenance, and comely smile, and affectionate glance, soft cheeks and lips, which like the dawn appears, with upraised eyebrows and beautiful ears, which fine symmetry of their beauty shows, as with the prominent and shapely nose. His arms were long and sturdy, and his chest was broad and ample, where beauty finds rest. His neck was like a conch, with creases 3. His depressed navel, beautiful to see, was marked with the delicate folds, sublime, like those upon the banyan leaf that shine. His sturdy hips and thighs were broad and strong, like tapering trunk of elephant long. His knees and shanks and bossy ankles showed rare grace, and his toenails like the dawn glowed on his fine toes, which like soft petals shine on lotus flowers of his feet divine. Embellished and adorned with many a gem, armlets, bracelets, and sparkling diadem, a jewel-studded ornamental zone was girt about his waist. His bosom shone with sacred thread. His lotus feet were dight with tinkling ankle bells and gleaming bright. Lovely ear pendants dangle from his ears. The lotus conch, discus, and club he rears. His ample bosom marked with beauty's sign. Upon his breast the kaustuba doth shine. decked with flower garlands of rarest scent, with sweet perfume, odorous, redolent. On every side he was adored and praised by his associates with voices raised in words of spotless eulogy divine, expressing each his sentiment sublime. His foremost attendants beside him stand, Nanda and Sunanda on either hand, Sanaka and his brothers, praise bestowed, Brahma and Rudra and many a god. The 9 yogis of twice-born ones the best, Prahlad, Narad, Vasu, and the rest. There, beauty, nourishment, and speech were found. Fame, pleasure, ila, and urja surround with vidya, avidya, and maya too, his goddesses, most beautiful to view. So they're all goddesses, beauty, nourishment, speech, etc. Akrura, thus having beheld this sight, was overwhelmed with love and fond delight, exhilarated and thrilled thus to see, his eyes brimmed o'er with tears of ecstasy, his hair all stood on end with joy elate, then gradually resumed his wonted state, with palms together pressed and lowered head, in faltering and broken tones, he said. End of chapter 30. Huh? Oh, I got that wrong. So now it's chapter 40. That was chapter 39. I'll read this one and then stop. This is Akrura's hymn. It's not particularly long, but it's quite intense. And then we'll leave it there. So then after that, we'll pick up with them arriving and coming to Mathura. So now Akrura is in the water, seeing all this. Akrura said, I bow to thee, the cause of all that be, Narayana, primal divinity, from whose navel the lotus did emerge, the seat of Lord Brahma, the demiurge, whence generation of the world doth spring, and all creatures into existence bring. The earth, the water, fire, and the wind, the sky and cosmic intellect combined, the ruling mind which over sense presides, each deity who sense objects provides, all these causes, effects which generate from thine own proper person emanate. Thus all these evolutes from thee derive, and objective reality contrive. Yet thou, the pure subject, are not perceived, nor e'en by Brahma canst thou be conceived, for he is swayed by nature's attribute, but thou art transcendent and absolute. By yogis thou art worshipped and adored, as the great being, their ruling lord, with adhyatma, ever they gain beatitude. Some worship some worship as the 3 Vedas ordain, Brahmins who in sacred fire with a sacred fire maintain, with incantations, rites, and sanctities, in worship of the deathless deities. Some through renouncement of all action make of the wisdom sacrifice for wisdom's sake, and thus worship thee to propitiate the very form of wisdom incarnate. Still others, purified in mind, pursue the disciplines promulgated by you. To devout contemplation they adhere, as you in one or many forms appear. Others worship supreme divinity in the form of Shiva, which texts decree, with diverse offerings and disciplines, through many teachers and many doctrines. Yet all these who devout worship pursue, in all reality but adore you, though they on other gods worship insist, you are the Lord in whom the gods subsist. E'en as torrents flow down the mountain side and disembogue into the ocean's tide, So all these paths ultimately ensue, O mastermind, the way that leads to you. The sattva, rajas, tamas qualities from your primordial nature arise, which does creatures from the immobile bind up to Brahma within nature confined. All hail to thee, the soul of every soul, whose comprehensive vision scans the whole, the conscious witness of their thoughts and deeds. From thee the stream of attribute proceeds. In perpetuity, creation springs of God's divine men and all living things. Fire, your face, your feet, the earth, your eye, bright Surya, and your deep navel, the sky. The 10 directions, your auditory sense. Heaven is your head, and your arms immense are the mighty gods, and your vital air, the wind, and vegetation is your hair. The clouds are represented by your locks, your bones and nails, the mountains and the rocks. The passing of each night and day implies the momentary blinking of your eyes. Your virile member represents the lord of creatures who brings forth the human horde. Your potent semen is as rain perceived, as in this vast conception conceived. Thou art the self-supreme everlasting, from whom the worlds and its guardians spring. The teeming multitudes of souls evolve from thy nature and within thee resolve. All as crowded fishes populate the sea, or insects in the fruit of the fig tree. Whenever and wherever you resort to incarnate for the purpose of sport, the singing of those deeds and your high fame washes away of misery the stain. O primal fish incarnate, hail to thee, who plied the flood of devastation's sea. To thee of horse's head I bow and sue, to thee who Madhu and Kaitava slew. Thou didst as the colossal tortoise sport, to steady Mount Mandara as support. Hail to thee in the form of the wild boar, who lifting sunken earth on your tusk bore. Hail thee, who, as the lion man appears, relieving the pious ones of their fears. Hail to thee, the diminutive God, who with 3 paces through the 3 worlds trod. All hail to thee, Lord of the Brigu's line, who destroyed martial princes for their crime. Hail thee, the noble offspring of Raghu, who in the bitter conflict Ravan slew. All hail to thee, Vasudeva, great Lord. All hail to thee, Sankarshana, adored. Hail Pradyumna and Aniruddha too, O Lord of Sattvatas, I bow to you. Hail, Lord Buddha, as pure and holy man. Mohini, who enchants the demon clan. All hail to thee, Kalki, avenging Lord, who extirpate the barbarous, lawless horde. Almighty Lord Supreme, the living soul is confounded under Maya's control with vain conceit and false identity, misapprehension of reality, and thus compelled by arbitrary sway, must on the path of varied actions stray. This conception does myself too confound, to wife and offspring and to kinsman bound, deluded as reality I ween, all this, Lord, though an insubstantial dream. The fleeting, the non-self of woe, the source, retards the mind into a backward course, thus in duality, pleasure sought, unwitting, and being with darkness fraught. Thus I am unable to comprehend that you are the soul's beloved and friend. E'en as the fool the water hole forsakes, o'ergrown with weeds, In folly he mistakes, and would toward a vain mirage essay. Even so I have from you turned away. I have no zeal, and feeble is my mind, to desire-prompted actions confined. My obstinate senses cannot be curbed, drawn hither and thither, always disturbed. Thus even I approach as refugee your feet, which the impure mind cannot see, since only by grace you are to be seen, and not by any other means, I ween. When he does the term of existence gain, the soul, O lotus-naveled, may attain the society of your devotees, and learn from them the way of your grace to please. All hail to thee, the form of pure wisdom, and the cause of all diverse conception. Thou art the ruler of nature and souls, and thy mighty power thus all controls. All hail to thee, Vasudeva, all hail, in whom all beings and entities dwell. Hrishikesh, Lord of senses, hail to thee. Save me, O Lord, thy humble refugee. Thus ends chapter 40. In Book 10, the great and the glorious Bhagavata Purana, the text beloved of swan-like saints, sung by the son of Vyasa. So if we pause it there, it's quite a lot to digest before we enter onto the city doings in Mathura.
Okay, we'll stop recording now.